Good morning, happy Wednesday. It is card class day and I have an exciting card today using a few stamp sets. So we're gonna focus on the Memorable Blooms bundle, which is in the mini catalog on page 50. Here's a couple of examples of the cards that they show and the stamp set and dies. And the dies are what really sold me on this stamp set. So here is the Memorable Blooms. We've got great sentiments. Good morning, Tammy and Ty. I love the mixed font with the bold words and the script. I think it's so beautiful. You've been on my mind. That's what we're going to use today. And then some great, of course, floral imaging. And the dies that go with this is what sold me. So you've got these that cut out images. You've got a standalone kind of foliage die. And then these two dies, we're going to use them both today, are absolutely what sold me on these. So let me show you. I did some examples. So this is just a piece of Very Vanilla because I wanted you to see when you use this die here, it's got double stitching. Hopefully you can see that. And so when you cut it out, both pieces are going to give you some stitching, so you can use both pieces. So if you're using this piece on the card, you can save this for later or vice versa. But I love that they have that double stitching when you cut it out. Now this one here, when we cut this one out, we're going to get, this is some berry burst here, just so you can see it, but you're going to get this image. So you're going to cut it out, and then you're going to be left with kind of this negative that, you know, something behind it would show through, right? That's kind of what we're going to do today. And then when you cut them both together, so when you run them both through the die together, what you're going to get, this is some Moody Mauve, but you're going to get two pieces. And so if you cut them together, you'll get that stitching on, that shows better, you'll get that stitching on the outside of that. So there's so many different ways that you can use these dies to kind of create all kinds of different looks. So let me show you today's card. Oh, I agree, Tammy. I am such a font girl. I could buy every sentiment stamp that they probably come out with because I love them too. How many thank yous do we need? All of them, right? So here is today's card. We're going to be doing a collage card with lots of kind of layering and lots of fun. So the collaging stamp set we're going to use is this new, it's an online exclusive. It's called Elements of Text. So going back to what you said, Tammy, we are font girls, right? And so this was just right up my alley. My husband asked me today, what does all that say? And I said, I have no idea, but it's beautiful, isn't it? So there's some different scriptings and then of course some kind of splotchy speckles that I also love. So that's what we're going to be using today. So let me, oh man, knock everything over. Now you know I'm real, right? Okay, let me clear this away and we will get started. So first thing I'm going to do is bring in a piece of grid paper. And then I have a piece of Very Vanilla that we're going to use today. That's going to be kind of our main color of paper. And as always, if you would like the measurements, the supply list, or the step-by-step instructions, I will have a free PDF that you can download from me as a thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. So that will be available by Friday on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com. Or if you're part of one of my email Buzz Bulletin subscribers, it's my free email list, then yours will drop in your mailbox in the morning. So I'm going to go ahead and take this first piece of our scripting. So this is from that Elements of Text. It's this one here. So we're going to use that first. And I'm using just some wild wheat. Now this color was not my favorite for most of its launch, but the more that I use it, the more that I love it because it really looks gold to me when you stamp it. So I'm just inking this up and we're just going to stamp this with no rhyme or reason, just kind of all over. If they overlap, it's okay. I'm just gonna kind of stamp this. I want to leave a tad bit of space, but I want to go ahead and cover all of that. Now I'm going to use the same Wild Wheat ink, and I'm going to use one of the other stamps in that Elements of Text stamp set, this speckled one here. So they give you two. This one's kind of a bit longer, these are a bit bigger, and this one's a little bit smaller and more condensed. So we're going to use that. We're going to stamp off. So we're going to ink it up in Wild Wheat. We're going to stamp it off, and then we're going to stamp it on. Off, and then onto our paper. Off. We'll turn it a bit onto our paper. We're just going to do this all over. I'm just kind of turning my stamp a bit so they don't all look at my paper. So they don't all look the same way. And you know what? We can even go off again if you want a couple of real light ones. And so this is going to give you that kind of collage-y effect, which I love. Kind of vintagey, collage-y, however you want to call that, right? Okay, so we're done with this piece. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. This is the big guy, my favorite, because, you know, one machine that does everything. And so we're going to take this piece that we just stamped. Make sure you guys can see this. And we're going to take that die that had the double stitching. So that's what we're going to use first. And wherever you put this is okay. You don't have to be exact. I'm just looking kind of left and right on my paper that it's kind of in the center of that. But you could go all the way up or all the way down or straight in the middle. I'm just going to put my plate 3 on here and run this through. Easy peasy. All right, I'm going to take this out of the way for a moment. We're going to bring it back in a second. But we're going to now pop this out, and we're going to have 2 pieces. So 2 usable pieces from this. We're going to use this one today, but I'm going to save this, and I'll be able to use this for another card. So just go ahead and put that one to the side. And now on my card, I used Wild Wheat as the next layer, but we're going to change it up a bit for today, and I'm going to use some Moody Mauve. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece we just die cut. I'm going to add a bit of liquid glue, and this is going to make your die cutting these pieces much easier because I did it a few different ways without doing it like this, and it never lined up. So this is my get it lined up trick. So we're just going to take this piece and we're going to center it. And remember, I have all those measurements for you on that PDF that you can print and download or save to your device. So we're just going to glue that down. So now we've got these 2 pieces stuck together, stamped. It's already beautiful, right? We could just add a sentiment and that would be a beautiful card right there. But what we're going to do is we're going to die cut this piece here. So we're going to take this glued together piece. I'm going to grab this other die. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our plates here. We're going to put this on and we're going to center this on here. Now you could add some washi tape or some post-it tape if you want to hold that down exact, but I have found it doesn't really move, so it was good for me to run it through just like this. So then I'm going to grab my machine again. Oh look, I said it didn't move and then I moved it. It didn't move when I ran it through. That's what I meant. All right, so we're just going to put that plate on. We're going to run that right through. And that's the die cutting we're going to do today. So we'll just take this right out. And we're going to just pull this off. So there we go, easy peasy. And then we're just gonna pull these little negative pieces out. Now, if you have some that are intricate and kind of get stuck, I just use my take your pick tool and kind of use that end, the pokey tool end, and pop any of those guys out. You can also run it through with like a dryer sheet. Some people use that, but I just like my pokey tool. Comes out real easy. All right, so now we have this piece. So doesn't that look so beautiful with the florals gonna show through? We've got all our collaging. That is the basics of our card. So let me just grab our card base, and now we're gonna do some more stamping. So this is just a piece of very vanilla that we will layer on here just like so. But first, let's do some stamping. So I'm gonna open this up, and I'm gonna bring in some Old Olive ink. And I've got this stamp here from our Memorable Blooms stamp set. So that is this one up here. That's what we're gonna use today. So I'm gonna ink this up, and I'm just gonna stamp this on the center of my card front. Because what we're gonna do is that will be showing through. Pretty, right? Okay, so before we are done with that though, let's do a little bit of decorative work to this piece. So I'm gonna bring back in my grid paper here. I've got my blending brush with the same Old Olive ink. So we'll just get that on there. Isn't it beautiful, Tammy? I am too. I love this set. Okay, so now we're just gonna do a tiny bit of blending, kind of right over, circular motion, just kind of right over that foliage that we stamped, just to give it a little bit extra. You could go on the edges if you want to, but I found that was just enough. Then I'm gonna bring in a bit of Mossy Meadow with our Stampin' Right markers. And if you know me, you know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give it a little speckling. So we're just gonna go ahead and kind of all over that leaf using our cap, and we're just gonna flick a little bit of speckling right over that. Then I'm gonna bring my Wink of Stella, and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm just gonna use the cap, squeeze a bit. And you may not be able to see this part on camera, but what this does is it gives it just a little bit of glitz. See if the camera will pick it up, but it just gives it a bit of a glitz on top of that. So kind of blending, speckling, and glitter speckling. Okay, so now we've got that. We're gonna let that just dry a second, and I'm gonna bring in my inside piece so that we can do a bit of stamping with that. So I'm gonna bring back the same image, the same Old Olive, and we're just gonna add a little bit of a half of a leaf at the bottom there. I'm gonna bring back in my Wild Wheat and that same speckle that we did earlier. And this time I'm gonna stamp it full strength and then stamp it off. And then just a tiny bit of full strength over in that corner. I'm gonna turn it and do the same thing in the opposite corner. So I'm gonna stamp a full strength, stamp it off again, and let's turn this one a bit and do a bit just there. So we're just kind of giving those corners, both of those corners, a bit of design. Now, before I'm done with my inside piece, let's make sure I have my right color here. Got my Old Olive again, same with my ink blending again. We're just gonna, you can even start off the page a bit and just right over that leaf, we're just gonna give it just a tiny bit of blending. Okay, so then that is our inside piece. So it just gives it a tiny bit of color, you know, without coloring it, but it gives it just a little pizzazz. Doesn't this just look pretty like that? That could be its own card, just like so. All right, let's put this on the inside. Grab my liquid glue here. Add this piece to the inside of our card. Doesn't that just make it wow on the inside? Just gives it some pizzazz, right? All right, now for our front piece, we're gonna take this, we're gonna grab our dimensionals now, flip it over, and I'm just gonna add these. Other reason that I decided to do it this way is because it's much easier to put dimensionals on the big layered piece like that than the intricate piece, right? Because if we were to layer that on, you would have to use the glue or something. It was just much better. Any saggy layers, right? So then we'll just peel our backings off of those. Couple more here. Okay, that's all of them. Now we'll take our piece, layer this right in the center of our card front. All that beautiful design is gonna show through, and I just noticed, let me grab my take your pick tool. There's one little guy that didn't pop out, so let me pop that one out. There we go. Okay, so now look at how that shows through so beautifully, right? Now, of course, it needs a sentiment and it needs some bling. So I have here just a little scrap of old olive. And so for this, I've already cut it, but we're just gonna give it a little snip. So we have kind of that side angle. I find that much easier than cutting a banner, which doesn't always come out even, and then that bugs me. So we're just gonna add a bit of liquid glue here. We're gonna put this right on the bottom. And then let me grab some Mossy Meadow. So this is our third ink we're gonna use, some Mossy Meadow. And I've got the You've Been on My Mind sentiment. And so I'm just gonna stamp this. This is just a scrap piece of Very Vanilla. And usually when I'm doing this on a scrap, I will just stamp however many the scrap will hold. Of course, we're only gonna use one for today, but this way I will have them for my next project, right? I like to prep. So we're just gonna take these, let it dry a second, and you don't have to watch me do all of them, of course. So let me just make that a bit smaller, and we're just gonna fussy cut this out. And I'm not a lover of fussy cutting, but I do like to fussy cut sentiments because then you can really get them the size that you want, right? All right. And then we'll just take, now you could pop this up on dimensionals if you want to. I'm just gonna add a bit of glue since I already popped the whole thing up. And we'll just put that right over our little old olive strip. So You've Been on My Mind. This would be great for anything, right? A thinking of you, a sympathy card. It could be so many things. Now, of course, it needs bling, and I wouldn't be Stampin' Queen Bee if I didn't love our bee sentiment or our bee bling. So we're gonna use some of our new tiny bee trinkets. I love them. And so we're just going to add a couple of these. I just use a dot of glue and stick that right on. And so let's do one there. Let's see, one over here maybe. And I just have found it's the easiest to kind of get them how you want them because they're small, right? So you want to grab them the right side up way, and then it's easier to just stick them on the dot. And then let's do one more down here. And so I just kind of put it flat, and then can put that right down. And the liquid glue works perfect for those. They'll dry and they'll be stuck on just perfectly. So don't those look perfect? And I love this wild wheat because it really just takes on that gold look. So let me grab my first card here. So you'll have to tell me, are you a wild wheat border fan? Are you a mossy meadow? Not mossy meadow, moody mauve. Or my other option was, I mean, you could use any color for these, right? We could make them in all colors, or even the berry burst might look pretty too to brighten it up. But you'll have to tell me in the comments which is your favorite, the wild wheat or the moody mauve. Thanks so much for watching, for sharing, for liking, subscribing, and of course all your comments. I always love to read them and go back and respond. Even if they're on replay or whether you're watching live, I appreciate you so very much. So if you missed any of our card classes, you can find them all on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com or on my YouTube at Stampin' Queen Bee. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.